That's why you couldn't see it.
Good evening. So this is the second session of our introduction to Ayurveda 8-session series. So last week we discussed the most important first aspect of Ayurveda, which is that it is a consciousness-based system. That means the consciousness is primary and the body is secondary. What that means is that the consciousness which is in every cell of the body is the creator, and the result is the body. But the creator is in everything in the creation. So one of the things people get confused is trying to separate the creator and creation. In Ayurveda we say the creator was the only thing what was present in this universe, which is we call it consciousness or undifferentiated consciousness or the universal spirit or many different names. I mean, in religious terms you will say God, but God has no definition. In Ayurveda and yoga we say it's universal consciousness, which is unlimited, undifferentiated consciousness. There is only one which was present before anything else was here. That consciousness wanted to experience itself. See, there is nothing else. So consciousness wanted to experience itself. In that process, it created three. The tripartite theory in Ayurveda and yoga is that the consciousness wanted to experience itself. The moment it wanted to experience itself, it created an experiencer, experience, and the process of experiencing. See, the moment I want to experience a toy, the toy is the experience. The process by which I am experiencing the toy is the process, but experiencer is me, right? Mm-hmm. So if I have a piece of gold, I make 10 things out of that gold, but it's still gold. So the consciousness expressed itself into different forms, shapes, sizes, stars, galaxies, but it's still consciousness. It has got different shapes and sizes, just like the gold, maybe bangles or earrings or nose ring or a ring, but it is still gold. Same way consciousness is representing itself in various forms, but it is still consciousness. That is the most important concept to understand in Ayurveda, is that the experiencer, the consciousness which wanted to experience itself, created the whole universe, but is present in the whole universe too. So there is no separation between experiencer and experience. So everything is made out of consciousness, but the consciousness is primary. You know, in modern medicine we sometimes say that, or we always say, that I think, therefore I am. Because I think, I have a mind, I think, therefore I develop a consciousness. Ayurveda does not believe in that. Ayurveda says I am, therefore I think. See, there's a totally different, it changes the whole perspective. If I am is primary and the result is the thinking process, and thinking process leads to this body. Because first is my thought, a thought that I want to have an ice cream, and I go and have ice cream every day, so I create a body which is obese, overweight. That is not because that fault of the ice cream vendor. It is my thought that created that overweight. Or I have a habit of doing something, that habit eventually becomes me. So first comes the thought. To have a thought, you have to have a thinker. A thinker who has a thought, thought leads to an action, action leads to a memory, memory leads to my destiny. So, if I want to have a different destiny, then I want to have a different thought. That's why one of the things we talk about in Ayurveda and yoga is that if you are going to change who you are, you bring different experiences, which means the thought has to be created that I want these experiences versus the other experiences. But also I need to let go of the negative thoughts, because negative thoughts lead me to negative behavior. And negative behavior leads to my destiny, which is detrimental. Okay? So thought is primary, result is my physical body, and my mind is created because of that thought. If my thought is chaotic, then my mind is chaotic and my body is all imbalanced. So that is one thing which we want to explore a little further, that the undifferentiated consciousness, in Sanskrit it is called Brahman. Braha, B-R-A-H-M-A-N, Brahman. Brahman means, man means one which has mind. In Sanskrit, the M-A-N means man. Man means mind. The man comes from that word man. So a person, somebody who has a mind is called man. Okay. Braha means supreme. The supreme man is Brahman. Okay. So Brahman is the undifferentiated consciousness. It creates into two parts. One is the witness to the creation, and second is the creation. So, in order to experience itself, it has to create something. One is the creation and one is the witness. Witness is the male energy. Creation is the feminine energy. All creation is feminine in nature. Without that, so in Ayurveda and yoga, feminine energy is revered much more. I mean, all the disciple feminine energy relationships, Kali and Saraswati and all those goddesses are more important than the gods, because gods are just the witnesses to the creation. Okay? And I won't go into the detail of how Ayurveda looks at the creation itself, how it is created into the body, into the energy and into the elements. So in quantum physics, Vanessa, would you look in that camera and make sure that my face is covered? Okay. Okay. So, just to suffice to say that this feminine energy is expressed as a energy source and as a matter source. So, energy source in quantum physics, we say that the all existence in quantum physics is divided into energy and matter. And energy is electromagnetic energy which comes from the sun, strong nuclear energy which comes from the sun, weak nuclear energy which comes from the sun, and then we have gravity, which is another energy which comes from the space, right? The matter side, we have protons and atoms are divided into subatomic particles. Protons and smaller particles are all part of that matter. And Einstein proved energy is equal to mc square. That means you can convert into energy into matter by a certain formula, is equal to mass into the velocity multiplied by square. So energy and matter is exchangeable. It can be converted into each other, which is a great advance for quantum physics. So quantum physics says that we can convert energy into matter. They are same. They are different representation of the same force. And again, not going into too many details, that is what Ayurveda says. Ayurveda says there is an energy which we call as prana or chi or ki, and there is a atoms, the cells, which are made up of protons and electrons and subatomic particles, and this prana condenses to form the matter. Prana or the energy condenses to form the matter. That means the energy and the subatomic particles which make us 3 trillion cells are interchangeable. But prana can be influenced by what? We talked about it last week. The chi or the prana in us can be influenced by our thoughts, by stress, by what kind of input we are bringing into the body. All that energy layer can be influenced by all that, and therefore the body can be influenced by all that too, because they are interchangeable. This concept is primary to understand what we are going to discuss today, is that prana is the basic force which controls all manifestations of existence. Prana is the vital force which controls all activity of the existence. Without prana, nothing can exist. Prana is the primary force of creation. Quantum physics agrees with that. It divides it into electromagnetic, nuclear, and gravity as the different forces, and matter as subatomic particles, neutrons and protons and electrons, which are the smallest particle. Quantum physics further says that all these energy in matter can be grouped into three vital forces. One is the electromagnetic and nuclear forces combined. One is gravity. Gravity is alone by itself. And the third is the matter. So field of matter, field of energy, field of gravity. These three are considered as super fields. Okay? These super fields, quantum physics wants to prove that comes from the same undifferentiated field or the Brahman. Okay, they're trying to prove it. In Ayurveda, this has been said 10,000 years ago, that they all come from the same field. How they come into this field, we don't know. But this is how Ayurveda describes that all these super fields come from the same undifferentiated field or Brahman. But quantum physics cannot prove it because the mere observing the fields changes the fields.
But that proves it.
Well, that just
In some ways.
proves it, that it changes it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't prove it comes from the one field. Or, they try to, what was his name, the guy who had multiple sclerosis.
Steve Hawkins.
Yeah, Steve Hawkins. He tried to prove theory of everything, but he couldn't because we don't have the science enough. The process of observation changes the field.
But that to me seems like that would be proving what it is that you're saying.
Yeah, but it is not acceptable because everybody has a different observation and it changes all those things. So you cannot scientifically, by a mathematical formula, conclude that these fields come from the same field.
But so then that also then goes to say that we all have the individual potential
Correct.
of changing everything
Right.
with our presence.
Thought.
Yeah.
So just remember these three super fields, and we'll come to that in a few minutes again. So this is the primary, we discussed this last week, so I'm not going to go into more details. I'll send you the recording of last week's, so you can listen to that. So in order to experience that field, that undifferentiated consciousness within us, because we are part of that, we are not separate from the consciousness. We are not, in religion we say there is a God and there is a creation. No. God is in the creation. So you cannot separate from the. In Ayurveda we say the consciousness or this undifferentiated consciousness is who we are. That is what we call as our higher self, or our soul, or our higher potential, which is hidden from our vision because of the ego and the false I, which we discussed last time. When we access that field, then we can experience the unlimited potential of that field. Because mind is only a very narrow vision of the universe, but that field is unlimited potential. So the process by which we experience that field is called meditation. Okay? So I thought today we'll start with a short meditation, and then we'll go into the second most important part of Ayurveda. That was the first most important about the consciousness. The second most important part we'll discuss today. Okay? Questions? So let's sit comfortably and close our eyes. Take deep breath in and breathe out completely. Take deep breath in again and breathe out completely again. One more time, breathe deep and then breathe out completely. Now breathe normally. Bring your attention to a point about 6 inches in front of your nose. And from that vantage point, observe your breath as it goes in and as it comes out through the nose. Just observe your breath. Do not try to change it in any way. From time to time, your attention may be diverted by the sounds in the environment or your own thoughts. As you notice that, gently bring your attention to observing your breath as it goes in and as it comes out. Relinquish any expectation from this meditation and simply be a witness to your breath as it goes in and as it comes out. I'll keep track of time and let you know when to stop. wiggle your finger and toes and open your eyes. So we advise a practice of meditation twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, and around 6 o'clock each time, which are the transition times when the sun rises and when the sun sets, approximately those times, and 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. This particular meditation which we did was is called mindfulness meditation. So this comes from a Buddhist tradition that you watch your breath. There are many different types of meditation, and as we go along we'll talk about the meditation which we have developed at our center, which is called quantum breath meditation, and we will practice that eventually. It is an advanced form of meditation, takes you into meditation a little more fast than any other technique. So we'll do that. Questions? Okay. So let's talk about the second most important aspect of Ayurveda is the concept of doshas. D-O-S-H-A. Doshas are energies which, when they are in balance, cause health, and when they are in imbalance, they cause disease. So, for you to understand the concept of doshas, so a moment ago we talked about energy or the prana it being in energy form and body being in the matter form, the solid matter, which is a misnomer because every cell in the body, 99% of the cell is just space, is empty, and the electrons and protons are just whirling around. So there is no, it's a little bit of substance, and the rest is all space within us. You know, Rumi, the poet Rumi, Deepak Chopra quotes him that we come from universe as a dust particles formed into a body, which then goes back into dust. Because we are little dust particles which are swirling around and go back to the nature. So body is considered as not as important as the energy and the mind and the undifferentiated consciousness. But anyway, so when we talk of these energies in the body, we are talking of the same energies which are present in the physical body, which, remember, prana is the vital force which carries out all the activities of the matter. So in body we call these prana or agents of prana into three important energies. These, we have classified them into three energies in order to understand how it works in the physical body. So if you look at prana, and in the physical body at the level of the chakras, the energy transforms into matter. And this matter now has these three energies which control our breathing, our heart function, our thought process, our circulation, our nerve impulses, food going in, stool coming out, movement, all these functions which are automatic are controlled by these energies. Because when we die, we still have all the organs, nothing is working. If the energies are gone. So we pay a lot of importance to the energy. I mean, in massage, you pay a lot of importance to the energy work. Most of it is energy work. You're not working just at the physical level, you're working at the energetic level. Same thing in Ayurveda, it is all energetic work. So let's talk about these three energies in the physical form, in the physical body. One is called the energy of movement, which controls all the movement in the body. The breath going in, breath coming out. Food going in, stool coming out. Urine coming out. The menstrual cycle. These are all movement, thoughts, blinking of the eyes, nerve impulses. All these are movement. That is called Vata, V-A-T-A in Sanskrit. The second is the energy of transformation, which converts whatever you bring from the external environment into your physical body. So you bring an apple, that is converted into nutrients. These nutrients are taken to your body, into organs, and converted into your cells in the body. That transformation of apple into your body, which doesn't look like apple, is the energy of transformation, which is called Pitta. P-I-T-T.
So is breath not included in that then?
Breath is in the first part,
Yeah,
the
because
Vata
it's
movement.
but once it comes in, then is it transformed? The breath is transformed.
Breath is helps in the transformation process.
Mm-hmm.
Breath itself, if you consider that as oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
oxygen is involved in the transformation process.
Mm-hmm.
But most of its enzymes, hormones, neurotransmitters, the chemicals which transform the apple into nutrients and then nutrients into energy with the help of oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the transformative process. But what brings that food down is the energy of movement.
That's what
Which takes out the waste product is the energy of movement.
I see.
Which circulates the nutrients all over the body
I
is the
get it.
energy of movement.
Uh-huh.
But the actual process of transformation
Mm-hmm.
is done by fire or the pitta.
Okay.
So digestion, metabolism, absorption, maintenance of body temperature, that is all done by pitta.
Mm-hmm.
And third is the energy of cohesion, which is the represented by water, and water is responsible for uniting all the cells in the body. So every cell gets the part of blood. So blood is responsible for cohesion. So plasma in it, which is part of the blood, which is responsible for cohesion. All your repair processes, all your immune processes, all your repair and maintenance, all that is done in the medium of water. All the fluids around your joints, around your heart, lungs, brain, all that is water, the part of plasma which helps in supporting the different organs of the body.
So
There's the
lymphatics,
cohesive and
all-
protective
Uh-huh.
activity.
all the lymphatics would be part of that
Yes.
as well.
Yeah. So these three energies then control all the physiology in the body. And these then become primary as to the controlling of all the functions in the body. Now, if there is an abnormality in the function, we look at these three energies and say, oh, what is going on in this energy? Is this out of balance which is causing a dysfunction in the physical body? So, first the abnormality in the dosha will occur, and then the abnormality in the function of the body will occur, and then it will show up in the blood test. Okay? So, in order to understand these concepts of different dosha, Ayurveda says all matter in this universe is made up of 5 elements. Again, it's not just matter or energy, because both are interchangeable. So 5 elements are which constitute the entire universe. Now remember, in quantum physics I said there are 3 superfields. The electromagnetic and nuclear force is one superfield, gravity is second superfield, and third is the matter field. The gravity is the principle of movement. All movement occurs because of gravity. All movement of stars, galaxies, sun, moon, earth occurs because of gravity. That the stars and planets are attracted to each other with a certain amount of gravity. There is a curvature in the space which gravity creates, and all these different stars are moving around because of gravity. So that is the force of gravity, is the force of movement, which is Vata. Electromagnetic energy is the force of transformation, which is Pitta, which comes from the sun. And third is the matter, which is all the protons and electrons and neutrons. They all come from earth, or the earth and water. And so these 3 energies are represented in the 3 superfields of quantum physics. Okay, they're called Hager's fields, which have been described in quantum physics. Now, in order to further understand it, I was saying that everything is made up of 5 elements. And 5 elements are space. Space is primary. Without space, nothing can happen. Space is not a void. In Ayurveda, we consider space is the womb of creation, because all the other elemental energies are present in space. They just have not expressed themselves. So, space is primary. When there is a movement in space, that creates air. When there is a friction to the movement of air, creates fire. And when the fire liquefies, it creates water. And when the water solidifies, it creates earth. So an example would be your block of ice. You heat it and it becomes water. You heat it more, it becomes steam. And it goes into the space. So same substance, which is represented in different forms, is the 5 elements. And these 3 energies have one or more of these elements as predominant element in them. So the Vata is more of air and space. Remember, I said gravity. Gravity is all space. So space and air combine to form Vata. Fire and little bit of water combine to form Pitta. And water and earth combine to form kapha. So, once again, Vata is responsible for all the movement in the body. All the movement being blinking of the eyes, nerve impulses, thoughts, breath going in, breath coming out, food going in, stool coming out, urine coming out, menstrual cycle, blood circulating all over the blood, the waste products coming out from the blood into the intestine, into the bladder, into the skin. All that is the function of this energy called Vata. It's automatic in nature. We don't have to worry about breathing because it's breathing for us. We don't have to worry about our heart beating because it is automatic. If we were in control of our breath, we'll be dead. We will forget. But it is an automatic energy which is continuing the life processes. So this is the vital force which controls life activities. And Pitta is the one which is concerned with digestion, metabolism, absorption, and energy production, temperature maintenance in the body. And Kapha is, which is based in water and earth, brings all the immunities, repair work, moisturizes the different organs, different tissues. All that is part of Kapha function. So, any questions on the basic concept of doshas? So when these doshas are in balance, then we are healthy. When these doshas are out of balance, then we have disease process. These doshas go out of balance because of different reasons. Either the mistake of the intellect we talked about last time, that bringing wrong information from the outside, wrong input from the senses, too much, too little, at wrong time. Wrong time is in a not complying with the natural rhythms. In winter, bringing foods which are good for summer, all that. So that is the mistake of the intellect. Second is the stress which causes the hyperactivity of the mind and influences prana, influences these three energies. So it is under our control. We can control these energies by our lifestyle, by bringing in the right information from the external environment, right? And in order to control our thought process, we need to do meditation so that our thoughts are organized, cohesive, and we are guided to bring the right information at the right time, spontaneously, without effort. Now, this is just one concept which has been explored further in Ayurveda, where we say that these three energies are present in everyone, but in different proportions. And that different proportions give us our individual constitution. So the concept of individual constitution is the second most important part of Ayurveda. So let us explore that. So a person can have more of Vata, more of Pitta, or more of Kapha, and be called a Vata personality, a Pitta personality, or a Kapha personality. So these three types of people will have different psychophysical characteristics, which means that they will have different facial features, different body type, different functions of the body, because if I have more of Vata, there is more movement going on in the body. If I have more Pitta, there is more digestive process going, more chemical processes going on. And if I am Kapha, there is more solidity, more immune function, more supportive function going on. So based on that, there are 9 possible permutation and combination. We can have a Vata, and again, I don't mean that Vata person doesn't have Pitta and Kapha. He just has more of Vata. So out of 100, Vata may be 50%, Pitta may be 30, or Pitta may be 25, and Kapha may be 25. Okay, so that person will be called Vata personality. I have a picture here, I will show you. So here we see that Vata people have more of Vata, Pitta people have more of Pitta, Kapha people have more of Kapha. But they have all three. We have all three body energies within us, but one is more predominant than the other two. That means there are different characteristics of people of these three different types. So what are those characteristics? Let's explore that a little further. A Vata person will have more movement. Is the element of air is more. So what will be the quality of the person with Vata constitution? The quality of air. What are the qualities of air? What are the qualities of air?
Oxygen.
No, air is
It's Vata.
light. Is light compared to air.
Yeah.
Air is light. There is no weight to air. Air is dry. Air is cold. Air is.
Characteristics of air.
Huh?
These are the characteristics of air.
Yeah, like if it's a windy day, it's gonna cool it off, so,
Yeah.
Yeah. The warmth in the air comes from sun. Otherwise, air is cold. So we are talking of pure air is cold. Is dry. It is light. It is moving all the time.
Yeah.
It is irregular. Sometimes this way, sometimes that way. It's irregular. It can get into the crevices of every space. Wherever there is space, air will get in. So it goes into every crevices. It is also coarse. It is not refined. It is coarse. So those are the qualities of air. So the person who has more of air will have similar qualities. They'll be lean and skinny. They'll be tall or short. But they will have their mind will be moving all the time. They're thinking. They're all the time moving. They move fast. They do work very fast. They've got 5 or 6 projects going on, but none of them finished. They'll be Vata, right? They love to learn, but they forget very quickly.
Sounds about it.
They also are very creative because they've got all these ideas. Creativity is very good. Then your super secretaries, which have got 8 different projects, you know. So those are the qualities of a Vata person. But what can be the other qualities would be that they are irregular. Irregular means they change their mind all the time. So they are the ones when you went to college or school and you ask them, you want to go to a movie tonight? And they say, yeah, I'll go to a movie. And then their boyfriend calls, you want to go to a movie? They call you and say, well, I changed my mind, I'm going with my boyfriend. They don't commit themselves. Commitment is not there because they are always looking for something else. They want more activity oriented life. So they are changing. They are always dieting. Every Vata I know is always dieting. They're the skinniest, but they're always dieting because they love variety. So you meet them and they say, well, I'm on a diet. What diet are you on? Oh, I'm doing the apple cider vinegar diet. Okay. 2 weeks later you meet them, you say, well, how's your apple cider vinegar? I don't like it. I'm on to now watermelon diet. You know, they're always changing. So change is a important thing in Vata. But because their mind is moving all the time, they also have a lot of anxiety. Anxiety is one of the features of this particular constitution. Anxiety leads to fear. So fear and anxiety is what governs their psychology. But when they are in balance, they have a lot of creativity, they have a lot of vitality, a lot of energy. They are the ones who can eat everything on the buffet and never gain a pound of weight because their metabolism is very high. Now, when they are in balance, then these qualities become exaggerated. That means that anxiety now becomes a big problem. Fear and anxiety leads their life. So they may get into anxiety neurosis or psychosis because of that. Or they have more likelihood of becoming dependent upon substances, alcohol, drugs, because that relieves their fear and anxiety for a short period, so they become habitual of taking it. And so they are prone to substance abuse because of that reason. The Vata is also has some degenerative qualities. So as we get older, our Vata increases in the body, and what it does is body is always in a balance. We are continuously forming new cells and letting go of the old cells. But when Vata is increased, the new cells are not being formed as much as the old cells are going away. So you got a degenerative process. Best example is osteoporosis, or osteomalacia, or osteopenia, or osteomalacia. All three are that the bone cells are being degenerated, but new cells are not forming. So the catabolic function is more than the anabolic function, and therefore the Vatas are more prone to, when they're in imbalance, is more prone to get degenerative diseases like MS or Parkinson or senility or Alzheimer's, neurological diseases, ALS, all these neurological diseases, osteoporosis, osteopenia, all the neurological and degenerative conditions are more common in Vata people when they are out of balance. Okay?
That's interesting because, my observation has been that with MS in particular, that having lived down in the tropics, I never saw MS, literally not one case of it. And when I was living in Maine, I had 3 and 4 clients always that had MS, at least, maybe more. And it's just, because I've always wondered about that, because it's cold, it seems like this creates more MS than.
More degenerative conditions. Yeah.
Mhm. So do more Vata people?
So
Or is it
people,
just that Vata's
Vata
not
people
enough?
should not live in cold climate.
Right.
They should be living in Florida.
Mhm.
Okay. On the same token, people who are Pitta have more fire. So fire is good for digestion, for metabolism, for absorption, for creating energy. So they are usually fairly moderately built body, very uniform, they're kind of proportionate to the different parts of their body. They're not too tall, too short. They have a medium quality of build. Their digestion is the best because of the fire. So they're the ones who can pick up stones from the street and digest them. I can digest anything. Just give me anything. They are, because what are the qualities of fire? What are the qualities of fire?
Transformation, you said.
Transformation, but fire goes up.
Mhm.
So these are upwardly moving people. They are always moving up. They are the leaders in whatever they are doing. They move up. They also, what other quality of fire is intense. So they're intense. They are penetrating. Fire penetrates. They're penetrating. So when a Pitta person looks at you, you feel like you have been disrobed. Because they're penetrating, goes right through you.
So consuming also would be another,
Huh?
consuming would
Consuming,
be another.
yes. They are very intense, very consuming, very penetrating, very goal-oriented, very focused, because the fire gives them the vision to be a visionary. So they can see the future. They are leaders of the whatever group they are, whatever profession they choose. They are leaders of that group. So they move forward. And fire doesn't care what is on the way. It consumes everything and reaches its goal. Same way, Pittas, they will step on everybody to reach their goal. They don't care who they hurt in the process. They're very goal-oriented type A personality. Digestion is good, the body is good, the immunity is good, everything is good. They are the leaders of the society. But what governs them is anger. Fire is anger. So anger is their governing psychology. And anger is the emotion which governs them. So when they are in a balanced state, they are intelligent. They can determine between right and wrong. They can shift through the maze of complex problems and find an answer because of their intelligence. But when they are out of balance, then anger becomes a big problem. Anger, criticism of others. They don't like Vatas because Vatas are flaky. They don't like Kaphas because Kaphas are lazy, they tend to do things by themselves. They say, I'll just do it myself if I want to get it done right. So they are very, they usually work alone, because if they don't have, when they're out of balance, when they're in balance, they will have a following and they will be able to delegate. When they're out of balance, they will want to do everything alone. And they've got too much fire in the body, so they start burning their own tissues. So all your autoimmune diseases, inflammatory conditions like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's colitis, the skin conditions, the different eczemas, glaucoma, all these things which are concerned with the vision, they will start getting inflamed. So cancer is one of the most inflammatory condition, and so every cancer will have pitta associated with it. So they may not be pure pitta, they may be pitta kapha, pitta vata, but pitta will always be part of it, because pitta is what causes the inflammation. Heart disease, which is also a pitta related disease, especially heart attacks, is it cholesterol and heart attack. So that is your pitta constitution. And third is the kapha constitution, which have got more water and earth. So they are a little heavy, they are slow. What is the quality of water? Is cold. Not as cold as air, but it's still cold. It cannot go anywhere unless air blows it. Air means gravity takes the water, which is air. So without vata, water cannot go anywhere. Without vata, fire cannot go anywhere. So fire and water will stay where they are till air comes and takes them away to different places. So they're heavy, they're slow, but water gives them a supportive activity because they are compassionate. They've got love and compassion for the other people. So they tend to go into healing professions, nurses and medical staff. You see a lot of nurses who are little kapha nurses because of that love and compassion, home health care. All the people are kapha because they have a lot of compassion for other people. But when they are in balance, they are the best people to be around because nothing bothers them. They're easygoing, whatever, Vatas love to have their friends as Kapha because Kapha kind of balances them. They're moving around in the space, they bring them down to the earth, say, okay, let's do this, because Vatas are always, moving. Kapha can settle them down. Kapha have wonderful friends, they've got good sense of humor, but when they go out of balance, then water and earth accumulates in their body, so they become heavy. So obesity is number one problem with kapha, and that leads to diabetes, heart disease, complication of diabetes, lot of atherosclerosis, stroke, and all that is part of the kapha. But diabetes is the main condition which is seen in kapha.
So, like arthritis, where would that be?
Arthritis is a degenerative condition,
That'd be vata then.
so vata. But if it is a inflammatory arthritis like rheumatoid, There'll be Pitta and Vata.
Okay.
So now we know that people are of different composition, you know. They are not the same. We are all different. We need Vatas, we need Pittas, we need Kaphas. But society it wants everybody to be homogeneous. They want everybody to be same. You know, all 16-year-old girls want to look like that model on the runway. But they can't, because a Kapha girl, a 16-year-old Kapha girl, could never look like that model. Because it is physically impossible. A Kapha can never look like a Vata. Most models are Vata. Can never look like a Vata. So when they try, they get into eating disorders and bulimia because of that. That's why Kapha gets into these eating disorders, and then they get into a lot of major issues because they want to look like Vata. Okay?
So somebody who is anorexic though.
Yeah, anorexia is more of a Vata condition.
Okay.
But bulimia and eating disorders where you vomit, those are all Kapha conditions.
And in ADD though, that is
ADD is a Vata
okay.
condition. A Vata can never look like a Kapha. So your linebackers, they're Kapha body, 300 pounds solid wall, you can penetrate that wall. A Vata can never look like that. Vata could try, they could eat all these proteins and build muscles and go to the gym every day. They cannot gain weight. They may gain 10 pounds, and the moment they stop, they will lose it, because that is not their constitution. So I think the key which I want to bring out is that we need to celebrate whatever we are born with, rather than try to become somebody else. Because all of these constitutions have good qualities and have got bad qualities. We need to develop the best qualities in our constitution rather than become another constitution. So a Vata, a balanced Vata is the most creative person. They are architects, they are magicians, they are artists, they are, they have creative function. They are super secretaries, they are super moms. That is their creative work. A good Pitta is a good leader, a visionary. They should lead with compassion. They don't have compassion, but we need to teach them compassion so that they can lead with compassion. And a Kapha is caring. They should be developing that, but keeping their Kapha in balance. So if we learn to express our basic constitution and maintain it, we can create a state of super health, rather than trying to compete with other people that I want to look like them. Right? So I always give this example of a Vata Pitta Kapha go to the airport to catch a flight. And the announcement comes that the flight is 2 hour delay. So Vata immediately gets nervous. What am I going to do?
Anxious.
Yeah, I'm anxious. The person who was going to pick me up, I need to inform him, get alternative means of transport, and he's running around making phone calls. Pitta will go right to the desk and ask them, what is wrong? Do you need any help? Because they're fixers. They think that they're the best intelligent people who can fix everything. And Kapha will say, oh, 2 more hours to the next flight, let me go and have an ice cream. Because that is their nature. So if you watch people, you will start understanding that we are not same people and we can celebrate our differences rather than trying to become somebody else. Now, there are dual constitutions. So a person can be Vata, Pitta, Kapha, or can have Vata, Pitta quality, Vata, Kapha quality, Pitta, Kapha, Kapha, Pitta, Kapha, Vata, and Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So there can be 9 possible permutation combinations, and they will have characteristics of 2 than 1. So it could be that a Vata Pitta has 50% Vata, 35% Pitta, and 15% Kapha. So they will be considered Vata Pitta. So they will have both those qualities, and things will change according to that. So this is the science where we find out what is the basic constitution, then we understand who these people are and what kind of imbalance they're prone to get, and then treat them according to their imbalance situation.
So, this is just a random thought, but what if, like, if you had a Vata person, it would be good for them to have like a fireplace and have sit by the fire, because that would help to bring some of that.
Yeah, so they're dry and they're cold.
Yeah.
So fireplace alone may not be enough, but a sunny Florida will be good, humid and hot.
And so then for the Pitta, for getting into the ocean, for walking and being
Swimming, getting into the ocean, cold weather, dry weather, because they've got fire and water. So weather like Colorado will be good for them, which is cold and dry. Okay. Kapha are cold and water. So they should not be, I mean, they could be in Florida right now. I mean, it's the perfect weather for
That's
Kapha.
better for Arizona or something.
Arizona, but dry and hot would be the right weather for them.
Interesting, okay.
So you're saying I should move up north?
Uh,
So you're saying I should move up north?
no, you are a Pitta Kapha.
I know.
Yeah.
I hate the heat. Like this cold weather is really nice.
Maine, I lived there for a long time.
Pitta Kapha do very well in places like where the temperature kind of stable, like San Diego,
That would be great.
between 70 and 80
Like all year.
throughout the year,
The islands are like that too.
and dry, and you can,
They're wet.
huh?
I was gonna say, the islands are wet, that's the
Yeah,
thing, that's strong,
right.
it's moist.
No, islands are not good for Pitta Kapha. For Pitta's islands are not good, because their Pitta will kill it. Excellent. You know, Miami, where a lot of Pitta people are, they kill each other. Because 2 Pittas cannot live together, one of them will kill the other Pitta. Because only one Pitta can be right. And Pittas are always right. See, they never make a mistake. If something goes wrong, Vata will say, what did I do wrong? Pitta will say, what did you do wrong? And Kapha doesn't care, you know. They don't get into this. But it's very interesting to see, you know, that people who are Pittas and who are Vatas in your immediate surrounding. And, you know, if 2 Vatas get married, they will bury themselves to death. 2 Pittas, one of them will die or they will get divorced. Two kaphas will just lay in bed all day and get diabetes. So we need opposite, little bit opposite, so that the whatever we have less of can be stimulating for our constitution. So a kapha and a vata or pitta will be good because they will get them out of bed, have some activity, do some exercise, which kapha don't like to do, and they need it. They need it more than anybody else. Questions?
So the goal is to try to, you know, you've got your constitution, but then the goal is to try to bring in a balanced amount of the other things that you don't have, no?
No, that's a wrong concept. If I am a pitta, I want to maintain my pitta in the normal way. I don't need to bring more air or more water or earth. Yeah, they will balance me, but they may get me out of balance in those. I want to reduce my pitta. That is my primary goal. Is I am a pitta, so in summer I want to be careful. In summer I want to have a pitta balancing lifestyle, which is swimming, eating light, staying cold, having foods that are pitta balancing, wear clothes which are cotton, white, and not go out in the direct sun. That will lower my pitta. Eat pitta reducing foods. Don't eat chili, don't eat jalapenos, all that. So that will keep my pitta in balance. That is my goal.
Okay.
Vata person wants their vata in control, and a kapha person wants their kapha in control.
Okay.
And which is done by lifestyle, food, and herbs. And we'll come to that. But this is basically, so imbalanced vata, what will be the symptoms? I told you that degenerative diseases occur, but there are some symptoms which are more common in vata person.
Anxiety, for sure.
Anxiety, insomnia, the skin becomes dry and rough. They become constipated because the mucous membrane also becomes dry. So you got the dry eye syndrome, Sjögren's syndrome, dry eye, constipation, dry vaginal mucosa, fatigue, tension, headaches, gas and bloating, arthritic symptoms, losing weight. These are all the qualities of vata. Imbalance. Right?
Right.
A imbalanced pitta will have rashes, inflammatory skin conditions, inflammatory bowel disease, as I said, visual problems, so glaucoma and other stuff, heartburn, peptic ulcers, graying, premature graying, baldness, excessive body heat. You touch them and you feel like you touched a oven or stove top. You touch their skin.
So pitta that's really cold all the
Pittas.
time.
Pitta that are hot.
Yeah, but if a pitta is cold all the time,
That means they've got a vata imbalance.
you've got a vata imbalance, which you're saying, I mean, you said sort of everybody's got a vata imbalance,
Right.
pretty much.
Because of the lifestyle we are leading.
Okay.
Hostility, irritability, critical of others. Kaphas will get growth, cystic acne, oily skin, excessive sleep, lethargy,
So tumors and all, would that be, if tumor growth, is that?
Benign tumors are all kapha.
Cough.
Lipomas and fibromas and sebaceous cysts and all, everything. Till they get inflamed, then pitta is also involved. Pure small lumps and bumps, they are all kapha. And of course weight gain. Sinus issues, allergies are all kapha related. Now, out of the three doshas, which is the most important? Vata. Vata is the most important because it has legs and has eyes. It has legs, that's the most important. It can carry pitta and kapha, but pitta and kapha have no eyes, no legs. So vatas have legs, pittas have eyes but no legs, and kapha has no eyes and no legs. So they have to be carried from place to place. So vata is the carrier of all imbalances in the body. So whenever there is an imbalance in pitta or kapha, vata has to be elevated also. Because vata is what started the problem.
The problem starters.
Okay, I have already talked about this. So now let's talk about some of the functions of different energies. So in general, the upper part of the body, above the diaphragm, is considered kapha part. So all over head and neck, sinuses, throat, chest, lungs, heart, that's all kapha organs. From diaphragm to the colon, to the iliocecal wall, to the belly button is considered as pitta. Liver, gallbladder, spleen, pancreas, small intestine, stomach. And colon and rectum and all elimination part is vata. So if a person comes to you and says, I've got chronic sinusitis, you know right away that kapha is the problem. So you have to look at them and you know see what is going on. Why is their kapha is out of balance? So does it mean that a vata person cannot have kapha problem? I mean sinusitis? Yes, they can have. A pitta person can have sinusitis, which is infective sinusitis. Infection in there. Either bacterial or fungal infection can cause sinusitis. But that's different than a kapha sinusitis, which is due to nasal congestion and lot of fluid in the sinuses. So we talked about the location. Any questions on the doshas? Alright, now we are going to do a little test. It's called the dosha quiz. Okay? And I'll send it to you by email, and you can do this. If they, how many questions are there? I think there are 40. parts to this questionnaire. And 40 questions total. And this will put you in 3 different categories. You answer whatever you think is the right answer. You can print it out and calculate the answer. So I'm going to send it to you.
It's just what we think is the right answer. It's what we think is the right answer.
No, that will tell you what constitution you are and what is your imbalance.
Oh, okay.
You just have to be honest
Almost
with your
like a
responses.
personality, it's almost
Yeah.
like a personality test sort of.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's a
Similar.
constitution test.
Okay. I was gonna say, because I've been really tired tonight, so if it's about tonight, I was thinking I need that video anyway. I am trying to focus. This stupid cat right now all night. She doesn't want to play with me in the middle of the night.
Okay, so Vanessa. Karina,
Susan.
Stasha didn't come either.
Mm.
Sarah, Susan. Okay. Okay. So you all got it, and you fill it out and next time bring it with you. It'll tell you what your constitution is.
Okay.
So there are 2 parts. Part 1 tells you your constitution. Part 2 tells you what are the imbalances in your constitution. Okay? Then from the imbalances, then we can start to find out what could be the cause of that imbalance. Okay? So this is an important test. So, let us talk about some of the locations of Vata. We already said Vata has got, when you went through the training for massage, we talked about 5 different kind of Vata. Remember that, Vanessa?
Yes.
Okay, so there is a prana part of Vata, prana, udana,
It's Udana.
samana, apana, and vyana. So prana is which goes down. So when you inhale, that is prana. When you bring anything into your sensory, when you use your sensory for hearing, that is actually prana is supporting that hearing, is bringing that air which vibrates the cells, and then you hear. So main function of prana is the respiration, going in. Coming back out requires the movement of diaphragm. That is called udana, going up. Udana. Udana. So let's see. Prana has activity of the mind, the thought process, the reasoning, nerve impulses, all function of the brain is the prana and inhalation. Exhalation is udana. With exhalation is connected voice. So your voice apparatus is all udana. So when you're tired, your udana is tired, then your voice becomes raspy.
Oh, interesting.
Because you don't have enough udana to make a loud and clear voice. So that is udana. Right? So udana is not only exhalation, effort. When you pick up something, you contract your diaphragm. That is udana. Voice is udana. Speech disorders are udana. Right? Sore throat, cough is all udana. So udana is related to effort. You have to have effort in order to.
So if you're a kapha person and they get laryngitis a whole lot,
Laryngitis
yeah,
means infection, inflammation. So they probably are
pitta,
kapha and pitta.
Mhm.
Kaphas will get congestion. They will get pneumonias. They will get fluid accumulation. And then infection sets in, and then they get pneumonitis or pneumonia and bronchitis. But bronchitis itself is not very common in kapha. Pitta has to be involved. Now asthma, which is non-infection, is of two types. Asthma is dry, where you only have dry wheezing, and wet, where you have the fluid in the passages of your lung, and you have obstruction, and you have wheezing and fluid accumulation, pneumonia, which is a kapha condition. So dry asthma is vata condition, because inhalation, exhalation, and fluid accumulation, that is all kapha issue.
Okay.
The third part of vata is samana, is the borgigmi. Your food travels into the intestine, 26 feet of insulin intestine in a clockwise direction. Vata is the part which moves the food into the intestine. That is called samana. So weak digestion, anorexia, bloating is all samana disorders. The fourth is apana, going down and out. So that is your elimination.
Is that apana?
APANA. So constipation, diarrhea, gas, bloating, back pain, because the lower part of the sacrum and the pelvis is the most important place for apana. And colon. Menstrual disorders, PMS, all kind of menstrual disorders, repeated urinary infections, uterine problems. These are all the downward movement of menstrual cycle and all that. Those are apana disorders. And the last one is called Vyana. Vyana. So that is diffused all throughout the body. In the skin, nervous system, circulatory system. So blood pressure problem is a Vyana disorder, because it's all over the body. Circulation is a Vyana disorder. Arrhythmias is a Vyana disorder. So if heart is not beating properly, that is a Vyana disorder. And during our Abhyanga, we try to balance these 5 subdoshas of Vata. So our movements are in the pelvis up and down. We have circular in here, circular at the base of the spine. This is Samana, that is Apana. And then we have this movement, which is Apana. We have upward movement, Udana. We have downward movement at the up and down in the back and sides, that is Prana and Udana. And then circular motions in this and then Vyana. Vyana is the long movement, up and down is the Vyana movement. So we do all 5 subdoshas of Vata during our Abhyanga.
And with the Dhyana then, is there any benefit to the movement being more, should it be balanced up and down
For
Dhyana?
Vyana is in the extremities, is all
Right.
over the body.
So
So
it's
you go up and down.
up
Up and down.
in a balanced weight and stuff like that. And it's fairly light, right? Like, because you're really moving lymphatic as much as anything.
Right, I mean, it has to be moving lymphatic, so it has to be firm enough but not deep.
Right.
Now there are 5 places where pittas are also more prominent. And I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but the most important places for pitta, without remembering the names, because I'm not trying to make you a Ayurvedic person. So they are mostly concentrated in the stomach and small intestine, where they help in digestion. So acid in the stomach is pitta. Liver, where all the bile and bile salts, the liver metabolism is very important pitta function. If it is not working properly, you will have increased cholesterol in the body. The cholesterol problem starts in the liver
This is interesting.
and in the stomach. Then third most important place is the eyes, because the pitta is visual. So eyes is the very important place for pitta. The 4th place is in the brain, because one of the important parts of pitta is the ability to differentiate between right and wrong. So the grey matter is pitta.
So liver, eyes, what was the first one?
Eyes, first one is small intestine, stomach, acid in the stomach. So pylorus, small duodenum, that part. So liver, eyes, brain, and then in the skin. Skin is a very important part of pitta. So all skin conditions have pitta involvement. All skin cancers are due to pitta aggravation.
And so if we're providing Abhyanga, then the Samana is going to be a really important one, but also putting the drops and stuff in their eyes
Yeah.
and then just working the whole skin
Right.
with whatever oil.
Yeah. It will, if you want to lower the pitta, you will use a oil which will lower the pitta, like coconut oil base, or you have Kshirbala, which is milk based oil.
Yeah.
So those lower the pitta.
But the Samana movement would be really good for them.
Not Samana, Vyana. Samana is the
Clockwise for the
clockwise.
digestion. Wouldn't that be good for like liver and stomach and small intestines?
Not really. I think those are more herbs work on that issue, because movement is by movement.
And that's going to be Vata.
That's going to be Vata. Now, of course, Vata, Samana Vata, and the Pitta in the stomach and in the liver work together.
Right.
So you balance one, you balance the other one. And there are 5 places for the kapha also. The kapha's place is stomach, upper part of the stomach, which creates mucus. So remember, kapha is water, it has a supportive function. So from the mouth, where it makes saliva, to the stomach, this is called Kredak kapha. You don't need to know the name. It is for building the mucus. So when you eat, it builds the mucus and coats the food so that the food can now be submitted to the stomach, pylorus, and in the duodenum, where acid will act on that food. So it is a supportive function. It lubricates the food so that food will go into the proper form of digestion. Second is supporting the heart and the lungs. You know, you have a lot of fluid around your heart, around your lungs. It is a supportive function. It not only gives a buffer, you know, if you fall or if something is, you get hit on the heart, fluid absorbs that on the lungs, but it also is nutrition to the outer layers of the heart and lungs. It's a very important function. Third is in the brain. So all white matter is
in that cushioning, this support.
and also it gives that substance to the brain. Then Tarpaka kapha, which is the paraspinal fluid, spinal fluid, the CSF, the moisture in your mouth, the nose, everywhere we have moisture, that is all due to kapha. And the fifth thing is the joints. We have got a lot of fluid around the joints to cushion the different joints.
So synovial fluid, all that.
All the synovial fluid is all that. So those are the functions of all the doshas and their subtypes. Now, last thing I want to discuss in this is very important, again, is for your information only, but to me it is very fascinating because I like to look at these ancient knowledge and try to see if I can integrate it with the modern knowledge. So, how does the person's constitution come into being? It comes from parents. So, if I have 2 parents who are both Vata, then I have no other choice. I am Vata, right? Or if they're Vata Pitta, I could turn out to be a Vata Pitta or Vata Pitta. Okay? But I will not be a Kapha unless I'm a milkman's child. That's not possible. In modern science, we will explain it on the basis of genetic makeup. Okay? Because Ayurveda talks about different characteristics of the face, the eyes, the forehead, nose, mouth, ears. I mean, everything is defined on all the. So when a person comes into my office, I look at their face and I say, oh, that's a Vata. I already know it. By the time they walk in, I know their constitution. But that comes with a lot of experience. So these characteristics come from our genetic makeup. So now let's talk about genetics, because that is the fascinating part of this. That there are 25,000 genes we are born with. Okay? And genes come from both parents. Half from one parent, half from the other. Now, out of those genes, only few of them will express rest are dormant. So there are three types of genes. One which express, one which has the potential to express because they are present, they have expressed in our parents but have not expressed in us. So, but they have potential to express. And third are dormant genes. So the one which have expressed is our constitution. So in modern science we call it phenotype. Phenotype is the genes that have expressed. So Ayurvedic constitution and phenotypes have a great correlation. But in modern science we say phenotype, okay, he's got blue eyes and he's got a blonde hair and this and that, but we don't classify them into separate constitution. In Ayurveda, we have taken the phenotype and we have classified them into these 9 possible permutation combinations. That is the only difference. So these are the phenotypes, that means these are the genes that have expressed in our constitution. But there are certain genes which have not yet expressed, which have potential to express, which are the diseases leading to happen. Okay? And that by constantly manipulating our phenotype, maintaining our phenotype, and preventing those other genes to manifest is what Ayurveda is.
So what about the other side though, where you have a phenotype and then there's a disease, but then we also have the potential for curing or healing the disease, right? Because
So that is the genotype. That is the genotype, the genes which have potential to express and the genes which have not expressed are called genotype. So genotype can be expressed if certain conditions are met.
Right.
So if my lifestyle, my food habits, my stress, environment can trigger those genes to express and cause a disease.
And likewise, your environment could trigger the same genes to heal you.
Yeah, and to heal you. So that science of manipulating the inputs into the body is called epigenetics. Not genes, it is the epigenetic, that means surrounding the gene, what environment we create. And that is the science of epigenetics, is this Ayurveda. Ayurveda teaches you everything, how to manipulate the input into the body to create a balance.
That's where you say like it's a lifestyle, potential for lifestyle change.
Yeah. So that's very fascinating to me. That's how last seminar when I went to India to give a keynote speaker at World Ayurveda Conference, this was my topic, Ayurveda, the science of epigenetics. So I talked for half an hour on that, which is very fascinating because this is the way we can bring doctors into understanding what this science is all about.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of like helping to create a biome that would allow those genes to express them.
Right.
Yeah.
Or not express.
Or not
Or
express.
not express.
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Questions? Okay.
I don't think my brain can work if it tried.
Hmm?
So I don't think my brain can work if it tried right now.
Dear.
Well, when you work all day,
It was a long day at work, which is, I'm blessed for that, thank you, but, it was a long night where I fell asleep too, so.
is.
Thank you.
Can we shut it off, please?